Young children in the U.S. are one step closer to a COVID-19 vaccine. The U.S. Food and Drug Administration on Friday authorized the Pfizer vaccine for children ages 5 to 11, making it the first COVID-19 shot for young children in the United States. The CDC still needs to make recommendations on how the shot should be administered before it's given out. That will be decided after advisors discuss the plan on Tuesday. Pfizer said it will begin shipping pediatric vials of the vaccine on Saturday to pharmacies, pediatricians' offices, and other places where the shots may be administered. The FDA decision is expected to make the shot available to 28 million American children, many of whom are back in school for in-person learning. Only a handful of countries have cleared COVID-19 vaccines for children so far, including China, Cuba, and the United Arab Emirates. In the United States, around 58% of the population is fully vaccinated, lagging behind other nations such as the UK and France. And the share of young children who receive the shots may be low. The U.S. vaccination rate for 12 to 15-year-olds trails other age groups at roughly 47%.
Pero al pasar el día vamos a seguir conociendo y conociendo.
I am impressed with the skulls, with the Katrinas, with all the colors you can see on Reforma Avenue. We are now in front of the Angel of Independence here in Mexico City, and the truth is, I am surprised with how colorful the celebration is.
De la celebración de la fecha.
Wall Street fluctuated between gains and losses on Friday, but ended with the S&P 500 and Nasdaq at record highs. The Dow gained 89 points. The S&P 500 closed above 4,600 for the first time ever. The Nasdaq rose 50 points, putting the finishing touches on making October the best month for the stock market all year. Elevated inflation readings continued to show up in corporate results and economic data. Consumer spending topped forecasts in September as the Federal Reserve's favored measure of consumer inflation remained quite high. The Personal Consumption Expenditures Index, excluding food and energy, was up 3.6% in the year through September. It's been stuck at that lofty level for 4 months straight. Nancy Davis, Chief Investment Officer at Quadratic Capital Management, believes the prolonged inflation spike is leading the bond market to price in several rate hikes from the Fed.
The rates market is having one of the most volatile weeks that I can remember in my career. We have over 5 full hikes being priced in before the end of 2023. I personally think that's a little aggressive, especially with the taper likely coming later this year and going into midterms next year with the U.S. election cycle.
Stock investors, however, remained focused on earnings for the time being. ExxonMobil posted its strongest quarterly results in 4 years, thanks to oil and gas prices that have more than doubled in the past year. Meanwhile, Chevron announced its highest profit in 8 years for the same reason. Shares of Chevron touched their highest since early 2020. Not all the earnings news was as good. Starbucks posted disappointing same-store sales growth led by weakness in China. Shares of Starbucks were down more than 6%. But the stock of the day was Microsoft. It hit a record high, allowing it to knock down Apple as the world's most valuable company on the stock market. Microsoft up more than 2% for the day.
Officials in New York City are preparing for shortages of firefighters, police officers, and other first responders, as about 50,000 city employees faced a 5 p.m. Friday deadline to submit proof of vaccination against COVID-19. The mandate has sparked protest in recent days, with workers arguing against what they say is government overreach. But despite the backlash, workers who fail to show proof of vaccination risk being sent home without pay on Monday, when enforcement of the city's vaccine mandate takes effect. Leaders of unions representing firefighters and police officers have said more than 1/3 of their members could be sent home on unpaid leave.
Get vaccinated by a deadline, everything continues. If you don't,
Mayor Bill de Blasio, who announced the mandate 9 days ago, said officials were prepared to manage any staffing gaps with overtime and schedule changes.
if folks show up who are not vaccinated, their supervisors will address that as with every agency, and it means, of course, they're not getting paid at that point. The solution is just go get vaccinated, but that will be handled on a managerial level.
Police and fire unions have filed lawsuits against the mandate, but the courts have generally not been sympathetic to efforts to block vaccine mandates in other cities.
This is not a time for Republicans to fold.
Former U.S. President Donald Trump's abrasive rhetorical style and divisive politics allowed him to essentially take over the Republican Party and garner a support base so devoted that most believe his false claim that he lost the 2020 election due to voter fraud. But the same tactics that inspired fierce political loyalty have undermined Trump's business. The images of wealth and success built around his real estate and branding deals have now, for many, been eclipsed by those of his supporters storming the Capitol, marking a violent end to his presidency. And those searing images, along with years of bitter rhetoric, are costing him money. Revenues from some of his high-end properties have declined, vacancies in office buildings have increased, and his lenders are warning that the company's revenues may not be sufficient to cover his debt payments, according to Trump's financial disclosures as president, Trump Organization records filed with government agencies, and reports from companies that track real estate company finances. Trump's Las Vegas hotel, for instance, fell from $22.9 million in revenues in 2017 to $9.2 million during 2020 and the first 20 days of 2021, according to Trump's financial disclosures. The Trump International Hotel in Washington, D.C. has lost more than $73 million since 2016. Trump is now making a second attempt to sell his lease on the property. In Florida, his Doral resort saw revenues fall from $92 million in 2015 to $75 million in 2017, according to a Trump consultant. Trump's presidential financial disclosure listed Doral revenues as $44 million last year. And the former president's biggest lender, Deutsche Bank, has lost its appetite for more business with Trump. A senior bank official told Reuters it has no plans to extend Trump's loans after they come due in 2023 and 2024. In an email, a Trump spokeswoman denied that the business has slumped. And her response to Deutsche Bank cutting ties, quote, "So what?"